Chapter 30. The Euphoria. Eleanor sat in the courtroom, her eyes fixed on the authentic purse as it was dramatically revealed to the court. The display of its dark power had left everyone in shock, but Eleanor's focus was on the purse itself, and the realization began to dawn on her: the purse she had was a forgery. Her heart sank with the weight of this truth. As things continued, Eleanor wrestled with her frustration and longing. The replica purse had not granted her the transformative benefits she had once enjoyed. The sight of the genuine article, the way it had captivated the courtroom and its dark allure, stirred within her a powerful desire to reclaim what she believed was rightfully hers. Concluded, Lydia, still in her disguise as the bailiff, approached Eleanor with a calculating smile. She had observed Eleanor's distress, and seemed to sense an opportunity. Miss Eleanor, Lydia said, her voice smooth and enticing, I can see you're troubled. Perhaps you seek what you've been. Eleanor's eyes widened with renewed hope. You have the real purse. Lydia's smile widening. Indeed. I'm willing to let you have it, for a price. Eleanor outweighed her hesitation. Name your price. Lydia's tone low and insidious. Just a simple favor, ensure that certain individuals never interfere with my plans again. Eleanor, driven by her craving for the purse's powers, agreed without hesitation. Lydia handed over the authentic purse, a wicked glint in her eyes as she watched Eleanor's face light up with euphoria. Eleanor felt a rush of exhilaration. She rushed out of the courthouse, her steps quickening, as she headed towards her favorite nightclub, eager to indulge in a night of unrestrained decadence. The full swing when Eleanor arrived, her face glowing with anticipation. She plunged into the festivities, reveling in the lavish spread of food and drink. She was determined to enjoy every indulgence, convinced that the real purse would restore her former gluttonous pleasures. As the night wore on, Eleanor danced and ate with abandon, oblivious to the fact that the purse she now possessed was, in fact, the forgery. The illusion of its power was enough to make her believe she was on the brink of reclaiming her past excesses. The race continued until dawn, with Eleanor immersed in her self-indulgent paradise. It wasn't until later, when the effects of her excessive consumption began to settle in, that the full weight of her mistake would come crashing down. Lydia's distance, a smirk of satisfaction on her lips. She had orchestrated the whole affair to keep the real purse away from Eleanor, while ensuring that the fake one would still wreak its own form of havoc through false promise and misplaced trust. As Eleanor's euphoria slowly faded, but for now, she remained blissfully unaware of the deception. The true nature of her prized possession and the extent of Lydia's machinations were still hidden, leaving Eleanor to bask in the illusion of her regained gluttonous joy. Chapter 31. The final excess. The night had been a whirlwind of indulgence for Eleanor. The club was still throbbing with bass, lights flashing in erratic patterns, and the crowd was deep in their revelry. Eleanor, however, was in a state of euphoric delirium. The authentic purse, or so she believed, had reignited her passion for excess. She dove headfirst into the opulence of the night, her senses overwhelmed by the pleasures of food, drink, and the increasingly frequent snorts of cocaine she had begun indulging in. Intoxicating, but soon Eleanor's need for more intensified. The purse, nestled beside her on a plush couch, seemed to beckon her toward further indulgence. She flitted from one vice to another, each act of gluttony pushing her deeper into a spiraling abyss. Her once coherent thoughts grew increasingly fragmented, replaced by an insatiable hunger for more food, more drink, more of the narcotic highs that promised to keep the euphoria alive. The party began to draw attention. A few concerned onlookers noticed her erratic behavior and the alarming amount of substances she was consuming. The revelry shifted to anxiety as Eleanor's condition worsened. Her movements became sluggish, her speech slurred, and she began to vomit uncontrollably. In chaos, an emergency call was made. The club staff, frantic and unsure of what to do, called for help. Within minutes, the flashing lights of an ambulance illuminated the club's entrance. The paramedics rushed inside, and one of them, Lydia Nightshade in disguise, moved swiftly through the crowd, her face masked by a standard paramedic's uniform. Lydia with a dark satisfaction as she approached Eleanor, who was sprawled on the floor, barely conscious. Lydia's heart raced with anticipation. This was the culmination of her scheme, the final step in demonstrating the true catastrophic power of the purse's influence. Lydia ordered, her voice authoritative yet oddly calm. The back, allowing Lydia and her team to attend to Eleanor. Lydia's practiced hands worked methodically as she assessed Eleanor's condition. The purse remained close by, an ominous presence that seemed to cast a dark shadow over the scene. Lydia leaned in close, her eyes narrowing as she observed Eleanor's deteriorating state. The combination of drugs and alcohol had taken its toll, and Eleanor's once vibrant demeanor had devolved into a lifeless shell. Lydia's expression remained unchanged, her satisfaction unshaken by the gravity of the situation. Let's get her out of here, Lydia instructed, her tone revealing none of the internal thrill she felt. She guided her team as they carefully lifted Eleanor onto a stretcher, her movements precise and deliberate. As they wheeled Eleanor toward the ambulance, Lydia couldn't help but savor the dramatic irony of the situation. Eleanor had sought to reclaim her former glory through indulgence, only to meet her end through the very excesses she had embraced. Lydia closed the doors behind her and took a moment to relish the scene outside. The revelry of the nightclub had given way to a somber, shocked silence. Lydia's plan had succeeded beyond her expectations, with Eleanor's tragic end serving as a stark reminder of the purse's insidious power. The ambulance lay into the night, and Lydia's smile remained hidden behind her mask. In her mind, she reveled in the chaos and destruction wrought by the cursed purse. The finality of Eleanor's demise marked another victory in Lydia's twisted game, a game where the cost of indulgence was a high price indeed. As they headed into the distance, the city returned to its quiet, unaware of the dark forces at play. Lydia, now free to continue her machinations, prepared for the next chapter of her malevolent plans, with the purse still in her grasp, its dark influence awaiting its next victim. Chapter 32. The psychiatrist's verdict expanded. Henry sat in the padded chair, his limbs still encased in casts, his eyes wild with manic obsession. Lydia, Nightshade, now disguised as the stern Dr. Larkin, sat across from him, exuding an air of clinical detachment. She was every bit the poised psychiatrist, clipboard in hand, glasses perched on her nose, though her mind thrummed with excitement at the sight of Henry's unraveling sanity. "Good morning," Lydia began with a professional tone. "I'm Dr. Larkin. I'm here to assess your mental fitness to stand trial." Henry's eyes darted back and forth before settling on Lydia. "I know why you're really here," he hissed. "You've got it, don't you?" Lydia's brow. "Got what, Henry?" The barked, his voice cracking with desperation. "I know you're hiding it. Everyone's hiding it from me. Where is it? You don't understand how much I need it." Her clipboard. "Tell me more about this purse, Henry. Why is it so important to you?" Henry, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "It's not just a purse, it's the purse. The power, the riches, the influence, it's all in there, waiting for me. They all thought they could handle it, but they're fools. Fools. They don't know what it's really capable of, but I do. I can feel it calling to me, whispering to me, promising me everything." Lydia, pathetically. "What exactly does it promise you, Henry?" Everett cried, flinging his cast-bound arms as best he could. "Wealth beyond measure, women falling at my feet, revenge served cold and satisfying. Oh, the things I'll do once I get my hands back on it. You think diamonds and gold are impressive? Bah! Child's play. I'm talking private islands, gold-plated yachts, chocolate fountains in every room, and women, exotic, sultry, obedient, pouring wine while they feed me grapes. The purse will make it all possible." Lit with amusement. "That sounds extravagant." Henry laughed, his eyes widening with feverish delight. "That's only the beginning. You know what else? I'll have Julian groveling at my feet. I'll make him pay for everything he did." "That's smug, arrogant." Henry's voice took on a falsetto, mimicking Julian. "Oh, Henry, look at me with my fancy clothes and wavy hair. I'll show him fancy. I'll have him dressed as a court jester, dancing for scraps while I sit on a throne made of rubies." Lydia, still feigning concern. "Henry, don't you think these fantasies might be unhealthy? What you're describing sounds like..." Henry interrupted, throwing his head back in mock laughter. "This is the peak of health. It's vitality. It's the world bowing before me, because I'm the only one who truly understands what that purse can do. Imagine the power. I'll have the mayor eating out of my hand. I'll have dinner with presidents. I'll buy a palace with a solid gold bathtub and a talking parrot that recites poetry while I soak. And Julian? He'll be stuck cleaning toilets for pennies while I laugh. More notes. It sounds like the purse has a tight grip on your thoughts. Have you considered that maybe it's more of a burden than a blessing? Henry, with indignation. A burden? A burden? How dare you? This is my destiny. The purse is the answer to everything. All these years I've been waiting, suffering. Do you know how hard it is to be brilliant and unrecognized? Do you know the agony of being denied what's rightfully mine? This purse is my salvation. I'll show them all. Everyone who ever doubted me, laughed at me, turned their backs. They'll grovel for my mercy. Little as she leaned in. But Henry, what happens if you never get the purse back? What if it slips through your fingers? And for a moment, genuine panic set in. No, that can't happen. I need it. Without it, I'm just... His voice wavered. No, that's impossible. It's mine. It's always been mine. I can't. I won't. His tone grew desperate. You don't understand. Without the purse, I'm nothing. I'll be stuck in this wheelchair forever, drooling over the same pathetic dreams. But with it, I'll have everything. Please just tell me where it is. You must know. I'll do anything. Just... Please, give it back. Lydia, hearing the torment in his eyes, slowly rose to her feet. Thank you, Henry. That will be all. Henry twisted into pleading as she turned to leave. Wait, you can't go. You have to tell me. You know, don't you? Don't leave me like this. But smiled to herself, knowing that Henry's obsession had sealed his fate. As she closed the door behind her, she could hear his anguished cries echoing through the hallway. In the end, inspiration was almost comical, a man so consumed by greed and lust that he was willing to barter his sanity for a cursed object. And Lydia, ever the puppeteer, had only tightened the strings. Lydia signed off on her evaluation with a flourish, criminally insane, unfit to stand trial. As Henry's muffled ranting continued in the distance, I'll find it, I'll get it back, and when I do they'll all pay. They'll all pay. Lit off a small, satisfied grin. The purse would continue to work its dark influence while she remained the unseen force guiding its victims to their ruin. Chapter 33. The lure of the purse. Eliza paced nervously in the waiting room, her fingers gripping the edges of her coat as though it were a shield against the unseen. It had been months since Julian's death, Eleanor's tragic end, and Henry's imprisonment. The emotional weight of those events had only recently driven Eliza to seek professional help. Today was her first session with Dr. Lila Winters, a renowned psychiatrist she had heard about through a mutual acquaintance. And a woman in her late 30s, with sharp features softened by an air of professional detachment, ushered Eliza inside. Dr. Winters had a calm, authoritative presence, her gaze penetrating yet soothing. Good, sir, Dr. Winters said, her voice smooth and welcoming. Please have a seat. The plush armchair, her eyes darting around the room. The walls were lined with bookshelves and calming art, but Eliza's mind was clouded with thoughts of the cursed purse and the chaos it had wrought. Dr. Winters took her seat behind a large mahogany desk and began shuffling through some papers, seemingly unfazed by Eliza's tense demeanor. So, what brings you to me? Elizabeth, her voice trembling slightly. I've been having trouble coping with the recent events in my life. Julian's death, Eleanor's overdose. I feel like I'm being haunted by these events. Dr. Winters nodded sympathetically. I understand. Sometimes we need to address the underlying causes of our distress. Have you been able to identify any specific triggers or recurring thoughts? Her eyes flicking to Dr. Winters' desk. There's something I haven't told anyone. I was involved with a peculiar item that seems to have caused a lot of the trouble. It was an old purse, but it seemed to have a dark influence. Narrowed slightly, a hint of intrigue playing on her lips. A purse, you say? That sounds unusual. Can you tell me more about it? Voice growing animated. It had a strange effect on people. It made them obsess over it, and their desires grew uncontrollable. It ended up destroying lives, including my own. Dr. Winters leaned forward, her expression shifting to one of intense interest. And where is this purse now? What happened to it? Comfortably. I don't know. I never had it long myself, but I saw what it did to others. I wish I had never gotten involved with it. Doc's grew more intense, her eyes glinting with a sinister edge. What if I told you that I have access to something similar? Something that could perhaps offer you a way to make amends or fulfill your deepest desires? Eliza, her heart racing. What do you mean? Doc to a drawer and pulled out a small, elegant purse, its appearance strikingly similar to the one Eliza had seen before. The sight of it made Eliza's breath catch in her throat. Dr. Winters said, placing the purse on the desk between them, is a replica of the purse you described. It has the power to grant great wishes and desires, just like the one you encountered. Eliza looked on the purse, her mind struggling to process the implications. Is it real? Can it really do what you're saying? Doctor, faintly, her voice taking on a persuasive tone, it is a very special item indeed. It can influence and tempt those who come into contact with it. But more importantly, it can help you gain closure and shift your locus of control. Her skepticism evident. How can it do that? Her voice becoming more earnest. Think about it, Eliza. The purse represents a way to confront the desires and fears that have been controlling your life. By having it in your possession, you can redefine your relationship with your past. It's a tool to reclaim your power and move forward. Her fingers inching toward the purse. And what would I need to do to have it? Widened, her tone becoming more encouraging. You don't need to do much, just a willingness to embrace your own desires and confront the unresolved feelings that have been holding you back. The purse is a means to an end, a way to take control of your own narrative. Wavered, the promise of control and closure tempting her. She glanced at Dr. Winters, who watched her with a patient, almost triumphant smile. Think, Dr. Winters said, her tone gentle but firm. The choice is yours. The power to shape your future is in your... As Eliza left, clutching her coat tightly, she glanced back at Dr. Winters, who remained seated behind her desk, a look of dark satisfaction on her face. The purse's allure seemed to follow Eliza's every step, its presence a constant, tantalizing reminder of the choices that lay ahead. As Eliza examined the purse more closely, that she realized it was not the replica she had been led to believe. Instead, it was the genuine cursed purse, its malevolent aura unmistakable. The weight of its true power was now in her hands, a realization that struck with both fear and excitement. Lydia Nightshade, having shed her disguise, watched Eliza's departure with a dark, satisfied smile. She knew the true power of the purse, and had orchestrated this encounter to ensure that Eliza would once again fall under its influence. As the door closed behind Eliza, Lydia relished the unfolding drama, knowing that the cycle of temptation and destruction was far from over. Chapter 34. The descent into sloth. Eliza stumbled into her upscale apartment, her shoulders slumped under the weight of the cursed purse. The once pristine surroundings seemed foreign now, tainted by the sinister aura emanating from the purse. She dragged herself to her favorite armchair by the bay window, its cushions barely visible beneath the clutter that had accumulated over the past weeks. Design and dark allure lay on the glass coffee table. Its beauty, once alluring and promising, now felt like a mocking reminder of Eliza's failures. The temptation to rest, to do nothing, had become irresistible. The promise of control and fulfillment had dissolved into a gnawing lethargy. To the armchair, the softness of the fabric offering little comfort, the purse's presence seemed to weigh heavily on her, its malevolent energy sapping her will. She reached out to touch it, but her fingers hesitated in the air. I need to do something, she murmured. But what? Another. Fast food wrappers, discarded clothing, and old newspapers created a chaotic tapestry around her apartment. The surfaces were coated with a thick layer of dust, and the air felt heavy with neglect. Eliza's energy and enthusiasm had vanished, leaving only a profound weariness that seemed to grow deeper with each passing day. Its shrill tone cutting through the oppressive silence. Eliza reached for it with a slow, deliberate motion. Her fingers fumbled with the receiver. "Hello?" she croaked. It's Sarah," came the concerned voice on the other end. "I've been trying to reach you. Are you okay? You've been missing for weeks." A hollow echo of her former self. "I'm fine," she said, her voice lacking conviction. "Just tired. Everything's fine." "And okay. Do you want me to come over?" Sarah's concern was evident. No need," Eliza replied dismissively. "I just need some She ate of the phone, feeling like an anchor pulling her deeper into the sea of her inertia. She sank back into her chair, her gaze drifting aimlessly. The purse, now a symbol of her surrender to sloth, sat tauntingly on the coffee table. Its dark allure seemed to whisper promises of comfort and escape, even as it exacerbated her helplessness. In the fog of inactivity, Eliza's once vibrant life had degenerated into a routine of inactivity and indulgence. Fast food containers littered the apartment, and her once groomed appearance had become a reflection of her internal state. She lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, unable to summon the willpower to change her situation. An object of both fascination and dread, sat on the bedside table, its dark magic fueling her increasing laziness. Every time Eliza glanced at it, she felt an overwhelming urge to stay in bed, to avoid the responsibilities and demands of her life. The purse seemed to exude an aura that made effort seem impossibly distant, its power exacerbating her descent into sloth. In the manage to move, it was only to fetch more fast food or to shuffle between the kitchen and the bedroom. Her former hobbies and passions had become distant memories, replaced by a monotonous cycle of feeding her growing sense of futility. The once eager woman who had dreamed of a life filled with achievement and fulfillment was now a shell of her former self. Against the purse's influence was a losing battle. The object that had once promised to enhance her life had become a tool of her complete surrender to sloth. Her physical appearance deteriorated, her health declined, and her mental state frayed. The cursed purse's dark allure had rendered her incapable of resisting its seductive pull. Once a struggle to get out of bed, the weight of the cursed purse on the bedside table seemed to mock her. She reached for it with a trembling hand, its surface cool and smooth under her touch. I thought this purse would help me," she said to the empty room, her voice breaking. "But it's only made me worse." On the purse, Eliza felt a deep sense of despair. The promise of control and power had turned into a profound sense of emptiness and decay. "Why did I ever think I could control it?" she asked herself. "All it's done is take everything from me." As she lay in bed, staring at the cursed purse, Eliza realized that she had become a prisoner of her own making. The once promising object had drained her will and ambition, leaving her trapped in a cycle of sloth and indulgence. The apartment, now a reflection of her inner turmoil, stood as a testament to the purse's dark influence. I can't anymore," Eliza whispered, her voice barely audible. "I thought I could control it, but it's the one that controls me." In the apartment, surrounded by the remnants of her former life, Eliza's struggle against the cursed purse reached its grim conclusion. The object that had promised so much had delivered only emptiness and decay, leaving her a hollow shell of her former self. Chapter 35. The obsession reignited. The oppressive hum of fluorescent lights flickered in the sterile hallway of the mental institution as Eliza walked purposefully toward the visitation room. Her eyes, dulled by her own descent into sloth, were nonetheless sharp with a renewed sense of purpose. Clutched tightly in her hand was the real cursed purse, now fully manifesting its dark powers under Lydia's influence. Heavy steel door, she could hear the distant echoes of manic laughter and shuffling footsteps, an unsettling soundtrack to her visit. Taking a deep breath, she entered the room, her heart pounding as if she was stepping into the maw of some dark beast. Now accustomed to the institution's harsh environment, his once proud demeanor had withered under the strain of his confinement, but his eyes, those intense, fevered eyes, still held a spark of the obsession that had consumed him. His body was covered in the remains of the casts that had once immobilized him, but his mind was as active and restless as ever. Eliza said, her voice carrying a strange mixture of nervousness and resolve. To her, immediately locking onto the purse she held, His eyes widened, and his expression transformed from a blank stare into one of intense fascination. He rasped, his voice laden with both disbelief and yearning. "Is that?" Yeah, a shadow of a smile playing on her lips. "I brought it for you. I thought you might like to see it again." With that, she placed the purse on the small table between them. Henry's eyes followed its every movement, as if entranced by its very presence. He reached out a trembling hand, but the sheer distance between them and his bound state made the gesture futile. "You don't," Henry said, his voice quivering with suppressed excitement. "This purse, it's everything. Everything I ever wanted. The power, the control, the promise of indulgence. A mixture of pity and unease. You're obsessed with it, Henry. It's all you ever talk about. Don't you see? It's corrupted us all. We need to let go of it. We need to." No, his voice rising. "It's not the purse that's at fault. It's the people who misuse it. The people who don't understand its true power. If I had it again, I would use it wisely. I would." It hardened. "Wise? You've lost everything because of it. You've let it consume you." Haver from the purse. "No, I need it. It's the only thing that makes sense anymore." Stretched between them, broken only by the sound of Henry's labored breathing and the distant noise of the institution. Eliza could see the wild determination in his eyes, a determination that bordered on madness. Henry said quietly, her voice faltering, "I'm here to help you, but you need to see the reality of what this purse has done. You need to let go." Henry's eyes, desperation. "Help me. You don't understand. You don't understand what it's like to be so close to something and have it snatched away. I need it. I need it too." He tried to articulate the consuming need that drove him. The room seemed to close in on them, the air thick with unspoken anguish. He took a breath and leaned closer, her expression resolute. "Henry, I have to tell you something important. I'm going to destroy the purse. I'm going to rid the world of its dark power. It's the only way to end the suffering it has caused." Henry, with horror and rage, his hands clenched into fists as he struggled against the restraints that bound him to his wheelchair. "No, you can't, you mustn't. It's my only chance. I need it. Before Henry's rage exploded. With a sudden surge of strength fueled by his obsession, he lunged at Eliza. His hands, though constrained by his wheelchair, reached out with surprising ferocity. The room filled with the sound of a struggle, chairs crashing, and Eliza's horrified gasp. Swift and brutal. Eliza's attempts to defend herself were futile against the maniacal force of Henry's rage. With a final, desperate thrust, Henry's hands found their mark. Eliza's screams echoed through the room, as her life slipped away, her body collapsing to the floor. Breathing heavily, Henry stared at the purse, now left untouched on the table. The rage that had consumed him slowly dissipated, replaced by a haunting silence. The room was eerily quiet, except for the distant sounds of the institution, now a stark contrast to the violence that had just unfolded. As Henry's breathing returned to a ragged but calm rhythm. He reached out a trembling hand, caressing the purse with a mixture of awe and fear. His eyes, still wild, seemed to plead with the cursed object for some form of redemption or solace. Left in chaos, a dark testament to the power of the cursed purse and the lengths to which it could drive those who sought its dark allure. Chapter 36. The unholy transformation in the dimly lit confines of Henry's cell. The walls seemed to close in with each passing day. The oppressive atmosphere was thick with a sense of inevitable doom, a perfect reflection of Henry's tormented mind. The once proud man now sat in a sullen state, haunted by the darkness that had consumed him. Footsteps of a visitor echoed in the cold silence before the heavy metal door swung open. Lydia Nightshade, this time disguised as Dr. Larkin, the institution's chief psychiatrist, entered the cell with a demeanor of icy authority. Her eyes glinted with a malevolent delight as she observed Henry's deteriorated state. Henry said, her voice smooth and unwavering, "I trust you've been reflecting on your actions and their consequences." Henry's eyes, hollow and fevered, met Lydia's with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. He had been awaiting this visit, knowing that Lydia's manipulations were far from over. "Dr. Larkin," he rasped, I've been thinking about the purse, about what it can do, what it has. Lydia listened. Indeed. And you've come to understand the magnitude of your obsession. Henry, his voice trembling with urgency. I need the purse, Dr. Larkin. I need to make amends. I need to. Lydia, a wave of her hand. The only way to truly make restitution, to atone for your crimes and your obsession, is to offer something of yourself. Something tangible. Hen with a mixture of hope and trepidation. What do you mean? Lydia listened with a dark promise. The transformation you seek cannot be achieved through mere words or deeds. It requires a sacrifice, a profound personal sacrifice. She pulled an intricately crafted box from beneath her coat and opened it to reveal various sinister-looking tools and instruments. The sight of them made Henry's breath catch in his throat. I don't understand. You, Lydia said softly. You see, the power of the purse must be perpetuated through the flesh of those it has corrupted. To atone, and to truly harness its dark power, you must become part of it. Your skin will be used to craft a new purse, one that will surpass all previous ones in beauty and power. And in horror and fascination as Lydia spoke. You're going to make me into a purse? Yes, with a nod, her expression both sympathetic and sinister. And this new creation will be the pinnacle of its dark enchantments. You'll be redeemed through this transformation, and the purse will gain its ultimate form. Henry's fear quickly gave way to a twisted sense of acceptance. I will do it, if it means achieving something greater, if it means redemption. Lydia's predatory grin as she approached Henry with the tools. The room seemed to close in around them as the reality of the situation began to sink in. Henry's skin, once a symbol of his former humanity, would now become the canvas for a new masterpiece of dark art. The process was appreciating and methodical. Lydia worked with meticulous precision, her hands moving with a practiced grace as she began the gruesome task of removing Henry's skin. The air was filled with the nauseating scent of blood and the sound of Henry's muffled cries, but Lydia's expression remained unperturbed, focused solely on her grim work. As of Henry's skin, she carefully preserved the delicate patterns and textures. Each strip was treated with a dark, ancient method that infused the skin with an almost ethereal quality. The process took hours, during which Henry's consciousness wavered between agony and a strange, detached euphoria. When removed, Lydia began the intricate process of crafting the new purse. She worked with a meticulous craftsmanship, using the skin to create a purse of unparalleled elegance and power. The final product was a masterpiece, a beautifully ornate purse with an otherworldly sheen, far surpassing its predecessors in its dark allure. The was both haunting and magnificent, its surface imbued with the essence of Henry's suffering and obsession. Lydia, her work now complete, stepped back to admire her creation. The new purse glowed with a malevolent beauty, a testament to the dark powers it now contained. Now a mere shadow of his former self, lay on the operating table, his body a ghastly reminder of the sacrifice made. Lydia looked upon him with a mixture of satisfaction and pity. You have fulfilled your role, Henry. The purse is now more powerful than ever, and your legacy will live on in its darkness. Leaving Henry in his desolate state, the new purse awaited its next victim. The power it wielded was now far greater, an ominous reminder of the depths to which obsession and darkness could drive a soul. And once more, the only sound the distant echoes of the institution's corridors and the faint dark whisper of the purse's malevolent promise. Chapter 38. The purse's obsession. The store was enshrouded in a deep, heavy silence, interrupted only by the occasional creak of its wooden floorboards. The display case, an imposing glass structure, stood illuminated by a solitary spotlight left on overnight by Mr. Morton. The glow cast an ethereal sheen over the purse within, accentuating its remarkable yet unsettling beauty. Inside the case, the purse seemed to shimmer with an inner light, as if basking in its own glory. As the purse began to exhibit signs of life beyond mere aesthetics, its surface, while outwardly flawless, rippled with a faint, unsettling energy. Beneath the serene exterior, a voice emerged, disturbingly familiar in its timbre, echoing Henry's voice with an uncanny precision. The purse's whisper was a dark, obsessive soliloquy, steeped in self-admiration. "Oh, magnificent I am," the purse cooed, its voice a seductive purr that resonated with a tone of enraptured vanity. "The epitome of beauty, the quintessence of elegance. Just look at me. No other creation could possibly rival my splendor." The continued with escalating fervor. "Who could resist such perfection?" it purred, its voice dripping with self-satisfaction. "The texture, the craftsmanship, each detail meticulously designed to ensnare and captivate. I am not merely an accessory, I am a masterpiece, an exaltation of art and desire." The purse's obsessions grew increasingly grandiose. "They will come," it continued, its voice a soft, malevolent whisper. "They will come from every corner of the world, drawn by the magnetic allure of my exquisite form. I am the prize they have yearned for, the treasure of their dreams." The accentuated every curve and stitch of the purse, making it seem to bask in its own radiant glory. The voice, a perfect mimicry of Henry's, took on a tone of theatrical grandeur. "Look upon me," the purse declared. "Behold the apex of desirability. My mere presence is enough to render all else insignificant. I am the embodiment of their deepest fantasies, the pinnacle of their most fervent desire." The purse grew increasingly dramatic. "No mere mortal could fathom my true magnificence," it intoned. "I am beyond compare, beyond reproach. My allure is irresistible, my charm unparalleled. Those who gaze upon me will see not just a purse but the very essence of their own vanity and desire." With the purse's monologue continued unabated. "I am a beacon of desire," it crooned, its voice a silky caress of self-praise. "They will be drawn to me like moths to a flame, their hearts set ablaze by the very sight of my perfection. I am the ultimate treasure, the supreme object of their unfulfilled yearnings." As the first light of morning began to filter through the store's windows, casting a soft, warm glow over the purse's opulent form, the purse's voice, relentless and insistent, carried on its obsessive refrain. The spotlight continued to cast an almost otherworldly light on its surface, emphasizing its flawless sheen and its darkly hypnotic allure. Mr. Morton, unaware of the night's ceaseless soliloquy, was set to return to the store. He would find the purse in its case, still radiant and resplendent, ready to take center stage in the upcoming auction. Little did he know that the purse had spent the night engaged in a self-celebratory dialogue, a testament to its own dark and twisted grandeur. Which the store, the purse's whispering continued, its voice echoing with obsessive devotion to itself. The first light of day would soon bring new interactions and fresh opportunities for the purse to exert its malevolent influence. But for now, it remained a solitary voice in the darkness, consumed by its own self-worship, awaiting the next chapter in its sinister saga. Chapter 38. The purse's obsession. The store was enshrouded in a deep, heavy silence, interrupted only by the occasional creak of its wooden floorboards. The display case, an imposing glass structure, stood illuminated by a solitary spotlight left on overnight by Mr. Morton. The glow cast an ethereal sheen over the purse within, accentuating its remarkable yet unsettling beauty. Inside the case, the purse seemed to shimmer with an inner light, as if basking in its own glory. The purse began to exhibit signs of life beyond mere aesthetics. Its surface, while outwardly flawless, rippled with a faint, unsettling energy. Beneath the serene exterior, a voice emerged, disturbingly familiar in its timbre, echoing Henry's voice with an uncanny precision. The purse's whisper was a dark, obsessive soliloquy, steeped in self-admiration. "Magnificent I am," the purse cooed, its voice a seductive purr that resonated with a tone of enraptured vanity. "The epitome of beauty, the quintessence of elegance. Just look at me. No other creation could possibly rival my splendor." The continued with escalating fervor. "Who could resist such perfection?" it purred, its voice dripping with self-satisfaction. "The texture, the craftsmanship, each detail meticulously designed to ensnare and captivate. I am not merely an accessory, I am a masterpiece, an exaltation of art and desire." As his obsessions grew increasingly grandiose. "They will come," it continued, its voice a soft, malevolent whisper. "They will come from every corner of the world, drawn by the magnetic allure of my exquisite form. I am the prize they have yearned for, the treasure of their dreams. The accentuated every curve and stitch of the purse, making it seem to bask in its own radiant glory. The voice, a perfect mimicry of Henry's, took on a tone of theatrical grandeur. "Look upon me," the purse declared. "Behold the apex of desirability. My mere presence is enough to render all else insignificant. I am the embodiment of their deepest fantasies, the pinnacle of their most fervent desires." That grew increasingly dramatic. "No mere mortal could fathom my true magnificence," it intoned. "I am beyond compare, beyond reproach. My allure is irresistible, my charm unparalleled. Those who gaze upon me will see not just a purse but the very essence of their own vanity and desire." With the purse's monologue continued unabated. "I am a beacon of desire," it crooned, its voice a silky caress of self-praise. "They will be drawn to me like moths to a flame, their hearts set ablaze by the very sight of my perfection. I am the ultimate treasure, the supreme object of their unfulfilled yearnings." As the first light of morning began to filter through the store's windows, casting a soft warm glow over the purse's opulent form, the purse's voice, relentless and insistent, carried on its obsessive refrain. The spotlight continued to cast an almost otherworldly light on its surface, emphasizing its flawless sheen and its darkly hypnotic allure. Aware of the knight's ceaseless soliloquy, was set to return to the store. He would find the purse in its case, still radiant and resplendent, ready to take center stage in the upcoming auction. Little did he know that the purse had spent the night engaged in a self-celebratory dialogue, a testament to its own dark and twisted grandeur. As he reached the store, the purse's whispering continued, its voice echoing with obsessive devotion to itself. The first light of day would soon bring new interactions and fresh opportunities for the purse to exert its malevolent influence. But for now, it remained a solitary voice in the darkness, consumed by its own self-worship, awaiting the next chapter in its sinister saga. Chapter 39. The Purse's Grand Auction. The auction hall buzzed with an air of opulence, a sparkling canopy of chandeliers casting their glow over the assembled elite. The room, filled with patrons in glittering attire, hummed with excitement and anticipation. At the center of the spectacle was the highlight of the evening, the purse, bathed in a dramatic spotlight that made it glimmer with an almost supernatural radiance. Poised behind the auctioneer's podium, cleared his throat and raised his arms to capture the attention of the crowd. His face was a mixture of pride and anxiety, and his voice boomed with enthusiasm as he began the introduction. Lady, Mr. Morton declared, "we are on the verge of witnessing history. Tonight, we present to you an item of unparalleled magnificence and grandeur. Behold, the pinnacle of opulence, the purse that transcends all earthly treasures." Their eyes fixated on the purse, which seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. Its surface, smooth and lustrous, appeared to shimmer and shift under the spotlight. Suddenly, the purse began to speak in a voice that was a haunting echo of Henry's, dripping with an air of self-satisfaction and seductive charm. "Distinguished connoisseurs of the extraordinary," the purse intoned, its voice rich and velvety. "I am not merely an accessory, I am the zenith of luxury, the epitome of divine elegance. Gaze upon me and bask in the glory of what can only be described as the ultimate treasure." The in collective awe, their admiration palpable. The purse continued, its voice rising with enthusiasm. "I am a manifestation of your most coveted dreams," it purred. "A marvel of craftsmanship that transcends mere material value. To possess me is to embrace the ultimate symbol of indulgence and desire." Morton signaled the start of the bidding. The room erupted with eager bidders. The first hand shot up, eager to stake their claim. $100,000, a wealthy patron exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. The whirled with delight, a seductive murmur that filled the room. "Ah, it crooned. "A worthy offer, yet I am destined for even greater acclaim. Bid higher, dear guests, and let us ascend to new heights of opulence." Eyes, gleaming with determination, raised their offer. $150,000! The purse responded, its tone a mix of admiration and playful provocation. "Your enthusiasm is most commendable. But remember, I am not just a purse, I am the embodiment of your deepest fantasies. A treasure so rare that only the most lavish bids will suffice. Fierce, the bids escalating with each round. The purse, reveling in its newfound spotlight, continued to extol its virtues with increasing extravagance. $200,000, shouted a patron, his voice echoing through the hall. Purse purred, its voice dripping with decadence. You are but a step away from embracing the ultimate prize. But can you truly satisfy my allure? I challenge you to elevate your bids to the pinnacle of excess. Each offer more audacious than the last. The purse's commentary grew increasingly grandiose and theatrical. 3,000, declared a determined bidder. The purse exclaimed, its voice a seductive symphony. You are but a whisper away from claiming the zenith of luxury. But remember, I am not just any prize, I am the epitome of indulgence, a treasure that demands the utmost reverence. The purse's voice a constant stream of opulent praise and provocative challenges. $4, a bidder called out, their excitement barely contained. The purse sang, its voice a melodious crescendo. You approach the pinnacle of my value. Yet, remember, true magnificence demands a price beyond mere dollars. I am the embodiment of your grandest desires, and only the most extravagant offer will secure me. As to the stratosphere, the purse's voice became a triumphant celebration. $4, shouted a final resolute bidder. The purse exulted, its voice a triumphant roar. You have embraced the zenith of my worth. To possess me is to hold the ultimate prize, the very essence of your most cherished dreams. Revel in the grandeur of your victory, and remember me as the ultimate symbol of luxury. The resounding bang, signaling the end of the bidding. The victorious bidder, their face alight with triumph, approached the pedestal to claim their prize. The room erupted in applause. The audience's excitement and admiration, a testament to the purse's unparalleled allure. As of the purse, the room buzzed with exhilaration, and the purse's voice continued its final, darkly triumphant notes. "Congratulations," it intoned, its voice a hauntingly beautiful melody. You have claimed the ultimate treasure. Enjoy the fulfillment of your deepest desires, and remember me as the embodiment of your dreams. The grand spectacle of wealth and desire had concluded, leaving behind a trail of dreams fulfilled and desires ignited, all under the watchful gaze of the purse's darkly seductive influence.